and welcome into Poke the Bear, episode 60, the Vladimir Sobotka episode. Classic Bruins legend, Vladimir Sobotka. Didn't he have a huge goal against the Sabres in that 2010 series, if I'm remembering correctly?
So. What could have been? What could have been the Vladimir Sobotka era in Boston?
I bet the Bruins have 3 extra cups if Vladimir Sobotka sticks around and blossoms as he kind of did elsewhere.
Yeah,
anyways. Yeah, a nice little career for him. Anyways, Evan Marinofsky, that's Conor Ryan. Conor, what is up?
Evan, doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Now, you were out golfing with the Bruins on Wednesday. Golfing in quotation marks.
I witnessed golf. I did not actually golf. Thank
you were
God.
You were at the course. But did you get the chance to shank any balls?
No, thank God. No, I was there on hand at the Bruins annual Boston Bruins Foundation golf tournament. Thankfully, they do not let the media golf because I was talking about this with you beforehand that, it'd actually be a good way to make sure media doesn't show up to like games or practices when the season starts. Because like last thing you want to do is like tee off, start shanking some balls, look like an idiot. You can't show your face again, like in front of the players for like a couple of months, right? Maybe you come back by April, May. So it'd be a pretty sound strategy to kind of weed out the amount of media at some of these practices. But thankfully, they did not do that. We were just there on hand, talked to a few players. Good to see people actually in person for the first time in a long time. No Zooms. So it was good to, see a couple of different players, talk and kind of get rolling on the start of the new season.
Yeah, no, it looked like a great time. They should start incorporating to make practice more interesting, an athletic aspect to it. The media has to put on skates and come interview players on the ice. Really spice things up a bit, so those January practices when it's, the dog days of winter, you can kind of be, hey guys, who wants to come skate? And they'll no media will go out there. You don't want to you don't want to embarrass yourself in front of everybody. Maybe race like Jack Studnicka down the ice. And if you can beat him, you get like any one-on-one you want. Maybe that's what they should do. See, this is why we should take over PR, because that would be a really interesting little thing there. Anyways, Patrice Bergeron had a lot of quotable things from the golf tournament on Wednesday, and he scared some people. Now, he said today that he will play out the final season of his contract in 2021-22 and figure out his future from there. It will be his 18th season in the NHL. I'm just going straight off Emily Benjamin's tweet. He also went on to say, I'm going to play out this year and then talk about that after. So it's not exactly what fans want to hear. Fans would want to hear him say, you know what? I'm never retiring. I'm signing a lifetime contract with the Bruins next week, and I'm here forever. Now, my first reaction was, why are people surprised at this? He's been in the league 18 years. I don't think people realize how long he's been in the league because he's only 36.
Yeah.
And to play 18 years, that's nuts. What did you make of the comments?
Yeah, again, not very surprising. I'm sure maybe Bruins fans aren't excited that, usually, the golf tournament is the start of like the official beginning of the preseason, talking about the new season. So people are usually excited about it. You kind of get slapped with a little bit of dose of reality of like, hey, we've already lost Krejci and Chara, and who knows what Rath's situation is. Now we've got Bergeron kind of admitting that, I've only got so many more years left, in this game. And as you said, Bergeron's tacked on a lot of miles on his career. He's battled through a lot of injuries. So is it surprising? No. It's all about more or less how the Bruins go on from here and being cognizant of the fact that, who knows what the situation is? Is this a thing where now it's a foregone conclusion that after this year when his contract expires, he's going to walk away? No, but you have to, be realistic and pragmatic about it, and the fact that whether it's, maybe he's more comfortable going year to year now, whether it's, I don't know if he wants to lock into a 3-4 year contract when, who knows, all it could take is this season, even, his groin injury that's been bothering him for years now. Maybe that reoccurs. Maybe there's another injury. I feel like Bergeron's one of those guys that it's not going to be like Chara, where he's going to retire at, 42 and be kind of a journeyman, become like a key fourth or third line defensive center, like the last stages of his career. I feel like more or less he's going to read the room. And if it's his standard of play drops, whether it be on ice production or fighting through injuries, I feel like he's just going to go out on his terms. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. It's just going to depend on how many years that is, right? Like, I don't know if the full doom and gloom of he's going to retire after this year is worth one fretting over right now. Who knows what happens? We could look at this, season and look at his production in April. And let's say he's got another 35 goals season, 80 points, top 3 in the Selke again. And be like, oh, maybe he still has a few more years left in the tank. But I think you have to be realistic, though, with the fact that there's only so much that, he can keep on producing at this level. And whether it be, even if it's a thing where he does the year-to-year plan, still better than him just retiring, because as we've talked about before multiple times, with the fact that there's still not a set solution for David Krejci leaving. If Patrice Bergeron also leaves, you're in trouble. Like,
you're in big trouble.
You are in big trouble.
Well, it's funny. Bruins fans are taking the bullet. 2 years ago it was Chara, then it was Krejci this offseason, and then if it's Bergeron this upcoming offseason or anytime soon, it's just Chara, Krejci, Bergeron, gone. And Rask too, most likely. Maybe. Well, they think he's coming back too, so who knows? But yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, I think, we talked about this either on Poke the Bear or Bruins Beat, the lack of center depth in the organization, and how, if you're acquiring a center now, that might be a guy you're looking at, Tomas Hertl, to be a number 1 center, because you don't know how long Bergeron has. Because as I said, I don't think people understand how long Bergeron's played for.
Yeah.
Like since 03, 04. That is nuts. And I just think that, again, and I think he has said in the past, taking things year to year, and how his body's feeling and things of that sort. So I'm not surprised. I don't see him playing anywhere else. I don't see him going to the Dallas Stars or the Ottawa Senators, or going anywhere else. Just go someplace, the Montreal Canadiens, finishes things off at home. But
thank God the Nordiques are not back, because that would be a legitimate. I don't think he'd ever play for Montreal, because he didn't grow up a Habs fan. But if Arizona packed their bags and moved back up to Quebec City, then maybe a little bit of concern about how he'd want to maybe end his career. But
they know who will be the captain up there. But no, I just think that, again, I think it's going to come down to whether or not he wants to play. I think it's going to be a lot of 1-year deals with him, which kind of sucks also, because then it's every year is going to be, so you think you're coming back next year? And he's going to be taking it year to year. But interesting stuff from him. That's going to be something to follow throughout the year. I don't think it's going to be that big of a thing until later in the year. Again, as you said, if his production is bad, or if it's not near what it was the past couple of years, or if he's injured, then I think you can really start to say he might retire. But I think, again, if he's got 80 points come March or April, then I think you're talking about, well, he's probably going to re-up. And I think a 2-year deal would make sense. I think 2-year deal. I think they're going to do ones, but I think a 2-year deal would make the most sense for him. Another guy who had some injury issues. Well, Bergeron didn't really have injury issues, but we're saying if he did. But a guy who said he's been dealing with a knee injury or a knee issue for 2 to 3 years, Charlie Coyle, said on Wednesday that was the case, and that's why he got that surgically repaired this offseason. He's feeling much better. Best shape of his life.
Of course,
best shape of his life.
Best time of the preseason, Evan. Everyone's in the best shape.
Everyone's in the best. It's weird. Everyone's in the best shape of their career right now. That's wild. The Bruins clearly have an advantage on everybody else. But Charlie Coyle, knee issue for 2-3 years. Is this something that is going to finally get him to produce?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at the preseason, as we talked about, you always have to be cautious about the rhetoric around this time of year in terms of, guys' health and whether that's going to lead to production. I think with Coyle, what you see is what you get. And I don't think just because, his knee is finally healed, which is great for him, both on and off the ice, it's not like all of a sudden he's going to be a 70-point guy, right? I think at this point you're hoping for best case
100-point guy activated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I think still best case scenario looking for Coyle is, I think also you look at Coyle, and it's tough to grade him on just baseline numbers, because I don't think that always tells the entire story with Coyle when he's being effective. I mean, how many times have we seen shifts where he's pretty much playing keep away from opposing skaters while holding on to the puck? That's like a trademark Coyle shift that you didn't really see as much last year, where he's using his frame and puck possession skills to kind of shield the puck and extend ozone time. You didn't see that much last year, which you have to imagine a lot of that was affected by that lingering knee injury that required surgery. So as a whole, it's still a positive step forward in terms of the fact that he has at least a clean bill of health. And, we've talked about this before. Is he a slam dunk candidate to step into Krejci's shoes and drive that second line? Don't really know yet, right? Like, we still have to see how exactly he fits, but considering that this has been a lingering issue for a while and he feels a lot better now, it's at least another factor working in his favor when it comes to stepping into that role, along with the fact that he's going to have a lot more firepower on his line now with Taylor Hall and Craig Smith, most likely. I mean, if he gets back to the level he was, let's say, during the 2019 playoffs, where he was creating scoring chances pretty much just by holding on to the puck, right? Like opening up ice, letting guys settle in there. If you've got Dan Heinen and Marcus Johansson there and you're doing well, what happens if you're playing at that level and all of a sudden you've got a shot for a guy like Craig Smith and a guy like Taylor Hall who can kind of make something out of nothing with his speed and transition play out there as well? Like, again, 70-point guy, I don't think so. But if he becomes a 55-point guy on that line and, Craig Smith has 20 goals, Taylor Hall has 20 goals, it's pretty good for what you're looking for out of that line, right? Is it Krejci? No, but it's a good way at least of somewhat balancing that line, and hopefully that follows suit with whatever you have on that third line with, let's say it's Howla and Foligno and DeBrus. So as a whole, you always have to be cautious around this time of year in terms of health and how guys are feeling, but it's still a positive step forward that an issue that's been bugging him for a few years has been corrected. I mean, look at Brad Marchand last year where he had that surgery that had been bugging him for a while. And I don't know about you, like he looked pretty damn good after he got that surgery. And the same with Pastrnak, who I think probably he needed a full year to get fully recovered from that hip surgery. But again, we'll see how Pastrnak looks this year, because I think when you don't have a lingering nagging issue like that, and when it's kind of sapping away kind of the strengths of your game, we'll see how they kind of roll back from that. Because Coyle, again, if he gets back to just playing the level he was 2 years ago, it can go a long way to get that line going.
What was the number percentage that Marchand gave last year? It's like, the last couple of years I've been at, like, what was it, 80%?
It was like 80, I want to say, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, oh my God, if this dude's serious and hits 100, he did hit 100 last year, and you saw it. I mean, Marchand was their best player by far. Another thing to think about with this Coyle line is Taylor Hall's also a playmaker. Yes. So you wonder if Charlie Coyle's goal production is going to go up, because he's, again, he's not even the primary playmaker on that line. I think it's going to be mainly Hall and Coyle together, and then Craig Smith just shooting pucks from every part of the ice.
From 90-degree angles, yeah.
Yes, just hucking them on the net. But yeah, I do. It's a perfect storm for Charlie Coyle to succeed. You have two really good line mates. You have stability. You have a good contract. You are now not injured. You feel good. This should be the year for Charlie Coyle. I think if you are predicting, guys, and we've done this, breakout candidates, it's Charlie Coyle. Charlie Coyle should be the guy who puts up 50 to 55 points this year. So he's someone I'm very interested to see how he actually produces on this line, because I guarantee you they're gonna start the year. He's either gonna have like 6 points in 3 games, or he's gonna have 0 points in the first 4, and people are gonna be like, "Bring up Studnicka. This is ridiculous."
Or it's gonna be people checking on David Krejci.
Yes.
Racking up points over at HC. I can't even say the HC Olamek. I can't. Yeah. With the rooster, that's all I know. He's got just a big rooster on his chest now. Which, do not do that in Google Translate of what the rooster is, because it's a bad time.
It's a bad time.
Google Translate, not the most reliable source there.
No, it's not. When I was in Spanish class in middle school, we used to look up like swears and be like, "Oh, we're gonna say it in class, and she's never gonna know."
The Spanish teacher will never know.
Yeah, she'll have no idea.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if the swears were accurate, because I've said them before. My Spanish-speaking friends are like, "That's not even what it means." So I'm like, I can't go to Spain and swear at people. What a joke!
I know.
Sue Google Translate. Google Translate might not be a safe bet. Another thing that was talked about Wednesday: deep pairings. Deep pairing season is officially back in session, and as if it ever goes out of session. But Brandon Carlo kept an open mind, saying that or the Bruins keeping an open mind. But Brandon Carlo has mentioned interest in wanting to play with Mike Riley. Are we right in saying that it's probably going to be Forbort McAvoy, Riley Carlo, and then Grizzly Clifton?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit of a gray area with Forbort and Grizzly in terms of how they fix. I imagine you could probably see that group switch quite a bit, because I still don't think the Bruins want to just fully pencil in Grizzly to a third pairing role, because I think they think he can do more than just be in that spot. But again, you got to see kind of what the best fit is there. And if Forbort fits better with McAvoy, then that might be who you stick with, especially against, more physical opponents. I think we talked about this last week, but as great as the underlying numbers are for McAvoy and Grizzly, I think probably the thing that's sticking most in the mind of Cassidy and Sweeney most likely is how the season ended with Grizzly and McAvoy both struggling against the Islanders. So I would not be surprised if Forbort gets the first look. And then it becomes, if Forbort is at the top pair, Mike Riley makes a lot of sense with Carlo, but you could also have Matt Grizzlick there as well. And both those guys fit more in line with what Carlo talked about. I mean, Carlo, when he says he's interested in playing with Riley, he's mentioned it before, but as much as Carlo presents, a typical stay-at-home defenseman kind of model, he always prefers playing with more of a puck-moving guy. So whether that's Riley or Grizzlick, you really can't go wrong. I mean, you didn't get an extended sample size with Riley and Carlo last year, mostly unfortunately because of Carlo's injuries, but looked pretty good together. I mean, they were out for about 60 minutes of ice time. I think they led like 80 to 24 in shot attempts. So pretty good, not bad. That's kind of a pairing that you hope can, one, shut down opposing scoring chances with Carlo out there, but also have a guy in Riley who was probably one of the better 5-on-5 playmakers in the blue line last year. So it's definitely an intriguing fit. Grizzlick also makes plenty of sense there too. And, as much as they weren't a typical pair last year, Grizzlick and Carlo were kind of used like a shutdown pairing. Like, I think they had like the lowest ozone deployment of any like regular pair used last year. I think it was like 44% of their starts were in the ozone. So, and that one also makes sense in terms of, all right, Carlo's a shutdown guy, but Grizzlick's, the reason why his numbers are usually so good because Grizzlick moves the puck out of danger areas in a hurry. So I think whichever option you have there in that second pair, I think you've got a pretty good pair on your hands. It's about more or less figuring out who goes with McAvoy first and letting the pieces kind of fall where they may, because I think as long as Carlo is healthy, you're probably going to have a pretty solid second pairing, whether you go with Grizzlick or Riley.
As you said, it all comes down to who plays with McAvoy, because I think, again, Grizzlick and Riley are a little bit interchangeable next to Carlo on D pairing too. And then whoever doesn't get with that is down with Clifton. I think if you're going to put Forbort with McAvoy, I think Riley should be with Carlo and then Grizzlick with Clifton. I think Grizzlick's a little bit more better in his own end than Riley. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I think. I think Grizzlick is a little bit better. He'd be a little bit better next to Clifton. And again, I also think Grizzlick's going to be up a bunch with McAvoy. I don't think that Forbort's going to be with McAvoy full time completely. I think they're going to split some time, depending on the situation. So Patrice Bergeron did say something else pretty quotable on Wednesday, and he said with David Krejci, quote, "Hopefully we'll see him back," end quote. So now we got the captain. They either know something, or they're playing the biggest prank on Krejci, who just wants to go chill in the Czech in his home country, just kind of play hockey, and they're just like, "Oh, he's coming back. Oh, guys, he's coming back," just to kind of like screw them. Like when you're hanging out with your friends, you want to leave, and they keep mentioning like, "Oh yeah, Evan's gonna leave soon. Yeah, oh, Evan's leaving soon. No, Evan's staying the whole night. Actually, Evan's staying the entire night." And you're like, "What? No, I'm not." So maybe that's this situation. I don't know, but they got the whole team thinking that Krejci's coming back.
Yeah, I look at the way the season's going and the season-long storylines we're going to have to keep on talking about. And you've got the Bergeron thing now, which I don't think is going to go away the entire season. You've got Tuukka Rask and the door being open for him to return, and whether that's a good decision or not. I hoped after David Krejci's press conference that he had with his new team, where he pretty much was like, "No, I'm finishing out this whole year in the Czech Republic," that's going to quiet some of those rumors. Apparently not. I think we're going to hear about this the entire year. And again, you can jump through a whole bunch of hoops to justify how Krejci can play the entire season in the Czech and then join here before like the signing deadline's up, where guys aren't eligible for playoff hockey over in the NHL. And, maybe it worked. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe I don't think the team Krejci joined in the Czech Extraliga is particularly good. I don't know if they're going to be in the playoff hunt, come February and March. So maybe he wraps up the season and then jumps right back into the NHL. Maybe that's the case. And maybe that's why, Don Sweeney mentioned it. Patrice Bergeron has mentioned it. Bruce Cassidy has mentioned it, which they keep on talking about it. You have to imagine there's I guess some smoke there, right? There's got to be something that I don't think you just toss that out there when you look at, all right, he's not here. We're moving on. Like, this is a new era. We have to prepare for the inevitability of these guys leaving. You'd imagine they wouldn't like entertain talk like this of like, well, he could be back, and who knows, maybe they're just talking about 2022 where he's a free agent again, Krejci, and they go from there. But the fact that they keep on mentioning it, adds credence to the fact that maybe something is on the table. Maybe that's the plan all along. We'll find out. I feel like it's going to be one of those situations where like the season's going to end in the Czech and we're going to be like, all right, well, what's the situation going to be? And then like the next day, he's just going to be at Warrior. He's just going to be like, they're just going to have him in the depth chart. He's going to have like the little Michael Jordan, like piece of paper. Like, I'm back. That's back. What it's going to be. Yeah. That no questions. He's not going to like, even like, I'm back. That's what it's going to be.
Business as usual.
Yeah, exactly. So
I am curious though. Watch them do nothing at the deadline and then be like, Krejci's our deadline acquisition. He's coming back. And then something's going to happen there, or there's going to be an issue and he's not, or there's going to be some sort of, contract issue or something that we don't know. And then they're going to have nobody. They're going to be like, damn, our deadline acquisition just kind of fell through, didn't it? And kind of like the Red Sox did with Chris Sale this year, where it was like they didn't do anything because they're like, oh, Sale's our deadline acquisition. When he comes back, watch out. It's gonna be the same thing with the Bruins and Krejci. Watch something like that happen. But I don't know. My guess is he doesn't come back, but I honestly don't know because logistically, I don't know how they make it work. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you have to figure out what the deadline is for signing guys at the deadline and when that is and how it fits. Because if it's anytime before the Czech Extraliga regular season ends, then I don't know what to tell you. And again, it's also a big ask to be like, all right, the season's over. You played like tons of games overseas. Jump back in. The NHL is, definitely not that much harder than the Czech Extraliga. You ready for a playoff push? Like,
Krejci's gonna put up like 100 points in 40 games. We're gonna be like, oh my god, this dude is never been better. And it's like, no, it's just the hockey's technically not as good.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. But you're right. The storylines that we're gonna hear all year are Bergeron retiring potentially, Rask coming back, McAvoy's contract extension. I think that's legitimate.
Yes, that one is actually concerning.
That one is legit. And Krejci potentially coming back. So you have Rask and Krejci returning potentially, Bergeron retiring, and McAvoy signing maybe one of the biggest defenseman deals in league history. So things are great. Things are going great around here.
Who's ready for the season to start?
Yeah, you guys excited? I mean, come on, dude. You guys not excited? What the hell? This is fun times. Anyways, that is Poke the Bear episode 60. Conor, what can the people look forward to over at BSJ?
Yeah, we're gonna have some more breakdowns and looking ahead at upcoming training camp. We hope that there'll be captain's practices on the horizon pretty soon. So hopefully we'll be back at Warrior. So we'll have all those breakdowns, more takeaways from our media availability over in Plymouth at the golf tournament, and all that good stuff over at BSJ. So subscribe at bostonsportsjournal.com. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do that at ConorRyan_93.
Go do all that. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. You Poke the Bear listeners. Have an amazing rest of your day.